What's cracking, gamers? It's your boy CD Sid. Today we're going to be trying something a little bit different on the channel. After my rant in the last video about the absolute state of video games releasing lately, I've been feeling like I need to talk a little bit more about the issue. With the problems that have been surrounding Payday 3's launch, Starfield's launch, and the death of hyenas before it even had a chance to launch, it feels like right now is the perfect time for someone to take stock of what's going on in the video game industry and maybe even try to offer some constructive feedback, or for someone to warn everyone else about what's coming. Now, having been a degenerate video gamer for most of my life, I've managed to see a lot of good and bad in the industry as a consumer. And when I realised that I've been wasting my life on video games for over 20 years, I start thinking to myself, well, what have I actually noticed as things have changed? And I've definitely seen a few things. Now, this is all subjective, but I think I can sum things up reasonably well by saying that it seems like the intent of game developers has changed over the years. Now, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but hear me out. Back in the day, game devs seemed excited about what they were putting out. Gaming was a way smaller market, it was pretty niche, so the people that were buying games were buying them because they were huge fans of the series. And the people making the games were probably huge fans of the series too. Now, you fast forward 20 years, and we're looking at an industry that's bigger than music and movies. And because of that, it's become increasingly more corporate. Gone are the days where a room full of mates working on a passion project because they want to. Now it's a room, well, it's 100 rooms full of people that don't really know each other, getting told, hey, make this. Now, admittedly, this scenario probably still goes on in the indie scene, but for the purposes of this video, we're not really thinking about that side of things. We're talking AAA. We're talking where the big bucks are. Nowadays, instead of that small focused team of fans, games are developed by committee, by increasingly bigger teams with increasingly bigger budgets, and the results that we get pale in comparison compared to the things that came out 15 to 20 years ago. Look at all the hubbub surrounding the release of Gran Turismo 7, compared to Gran Turismo 4 on the PS2. Gran Turismo 7 was a shell of what Polyphony is capable of, and more we see the same story play out across all genres and developers. For example, let's have a look at how Payday 3 launched. I played in the server stress test beta-y thing with a couple of friends, and I had an alright time. So when I saw that the game was launching on Game Pass, I was relieved, because my first thought was, well, at least I won't be out $100 if it's bad. Fast forward to the launch, and 9 times out of 10, you couldn't find a match. And if you could, your mates couldn't get in with you because they wouldn't be able to find a match. It'd just kick you to the Nebula matchmaking problem screen. And for some reason, Starbreeze and 505 didn't think that they'd have that many people playing on launch day. Even though their game was launching pretty much for free on Game Pass to all the people that have Game Pass. And I understand that as a business you don't want to go overboard and have too many servers and have nobody turn up, or, you know, have the game die a week later and then you've invested a bunch of money in servers that nobody's playing on. But it kind of defeats the point of running the server stress test too, because they obviously didn't stress the servers enough to find out where they broke. It kind of just seems like it was more of a marketing exercise than, hey, we need to make sure that this game actually works when we say you can play it. And then once they finally iron out the server issues and you can actually play a game, you find yourself thinking, wait, has it really been 10 years since Payday 2 came out? This is what we're getting after 10 years of paying for DLC? Which probably sounds really entitled, and I get that, but hear me out for a second. These companies expect us to spend our money on their products, but then can't be bothered to provide something comparable to the previous entry in the series, when the new entry is meant to supersede it, and provide a new, superior experience. Payday 2 launched with 12 heists. And I don't want to see someone in the comments being all like, oh, their reskins, jewelry store and Ukrainian job are the same, or something like that, because, yeah, you're right. But the difference is, here in Australia, Payday 2 launched for $60, as far as I can remember, and Payday 3 came out for 100. 150 if you wanted to play it early. It's a bit of a difference for the newer game to have 4 less heists, even if some of the ones in the predecessor were reskins. In saying that, I did enjoy most of my time playing Payday 3 once I could actually play a game, but I can also say that my mates were way less keen to play the game after a week of it not working. And it might be a me problem, it might be a skill issue, but it was still really disheartening to see a game that I was reasonably keen for having the equivalent of a house fire for a launch. And then we get to old honest Todd Howard's magnum opus, Starfield. Now, I'll be the first person to admit that I don't really buy into the video game media or the hype surrounding new games. Now, I used to when I was a big time Call of Duty player, And I know where that got me. Buying the same broken game for years and hating it after a month, and pretty much every time. After about the 8th or 9th time around that cycle, I decided that my money and time were better spent elsewhere, and I stopped paying attention to the hype train and new game hype culture. Nowadays, I'll see something that sounds interesting to me or looks kind of fun, and I'll say yeah or nah, based on the curated footage that the marketing teams have released as trailers. And I'll be the first to admit, Starfield did look and sound reasonably cool from the stuff Todd was saying. That was my first mistake. If I was smart, I would have looked at Fallout 76 instead of thinking about New Vegas and Fallout 3. The game launched, people had issues with performance, and the game kinda sucked. And then hearing Todd Howard say that maybe we should just upgrade our computers was one of the most frustrating things I could hear as a person that was kinda keen to play the game. I got a decent enough PC for everything else I want to play. Why does Starfield need to be on a solid state? Baldur's Gate said the same thing to me when I was installing it, and I said, nah, I'm cool, and it runs just fine. Larian didn't come out and say, oh, you're having problems running the game? Just go buy a quantum computer and get some other dimension to run the game for you, bro. Once the game was running okay, it was kind of fun. I got kidnapped by the space police for stealing a thing I didn't mean to steal, and they sent me off to be an undercover pirate for a couple of hours. I was having fun. And then the side quest finished, and I had to go back to the regular game. Every time I ran into a faction side quest like that one, I took the time to go and do it, and it was only because the main gameplay loop of going out and getting a power from a planet, getting jumped by one of the weird space dudes, and then jumping back in your spaceship and flying back to Jameson and finding out where another temple or whatever was, so you go get another power and get jumped by another dude and just repeating that forever. Kinda wasn't really satisfying, and because of that, I kind of avoided it as much as I could. I finished the game and I uninstalled it instead of starting up a new game plus. And this is meant to be this generation's Skyrim. Well, I sure hope not, but at least by the third time it comes out, it might have current gen graphics. And now that we've kicked Starfield back out there to where it belongs, we come to our next victim, hyenas. A lot of you probably haven't even heard of this one, or, might not have heard of it until like a week ago, when it was all over the news. This game's only even getting a slight bit of attention from me because I'm a Total War fan. And some of the YouTubers that I enjoy, like Vlond, have been making some amazing videos lately covering the autopsy of Creative Assembly and Sega's latest dumpster fire, which is hyenas. The impression that I get from his coverage and his interview with some former or current or whatever Creative Assembly employees is that they couldn't agree on what direction to take with the game, and as a result they took resources and stuff away from Total War to work on a watered down Tarkov clone that turned into a watered down Overwatch clone that turned into a massive waste of time and money for Sega and a net loss for Total War fans. Shouts to my homies in the Total War minds that are either dreading the launch of Pharaoh or too addicted to Warhammer to notice that the game's gone massively downhill over the last 10 years. See it a bit of a pattern? And because I'm a Total War fan, I'd really like to see Creative Assembly get their acts together, come back and put out an amazing Medieval 3 or Empire 2. But the stuff that I've been seeing about Pharaoh with the pre-release, and then the stuff we've seen in Warhammer and the things that CA employees have said about the development on hyenas, leads me to have hopes about as high as Chris Chan's standards. The approach to development by committee is just leading companies and development teams to spin their wheels in indecision, not be able to pick a direction and just go for it. Like they would if they could commit to an idea and execute. And I think if they could do that, they'd have a bit more luck with the games they're putting out. It seems like the guys over at Creative Assembly want to branch out and try something new, which, yeah, that's great. Everybody would love to see that. But they're doing it at the cost of their existing franchises, and that seems to be to their detriment. So I don't think anybody ever asked for hyenas. I mean, they might have, and I just wasn't paying attention because it's not really my cup of tea. But with the lack of outpouring of grief from fans, I don't think that's the case. So what do we need to do as gamers to fix this problem that I've just made up? That's the really hard part, and part that needs all of us to come together and agree on a solution, I guess. I can see a couple of pretty simple solutions for us consumers. We need to stop buying into hype and pre-ordering games, because we shouldn't be giving developers money sight unseen, with only the best material that their marketing departments with huge budgets, sometimes that are bigger than the game development budgets themselves, can come up with. I know that's a hard ask, because I remember the huge kerfuffle in PC Call of Duty community when Modern Warfare 2 was announced to be P2P matchmaking only, no dedicated servers, no server browser. People were livid, they were foaming at the mouth, because PC games up until that point had server browsers. That was just a thing with online shooters on PC. Communities formed around specific servers on some games, and Infinity Ward in their infinite wisdom decided that it'd be better for all of us if we just connected to some random guy via a P2P connection. And all the games after Modern Warfare 2, up until the sort of modern ones, that sounds silly, but you know what I mean, are literally unplayable now because of the exploits that nefarious individuals can pull off that mess with your computer. Or because you have to open a peer-to-peer connection. Now, why are we talking about ancient COD history? Because the community all decided that they'd boycott the game. And then on release day, the Steam group for the Modern Warfare 2 boycott that had thousands of people in it, that were all adamantly not going to play the game, had thousands of people in it playing Modern Warfare 2. Everything they said was just hot air because they were upset. Nobody actually wanted to not play the game. They just wanted to have a whinge. If we were to try something like that in the modern age, I think we'd have the same result. Loads of people would say that they were going to boycott X, Y, or Z, but on launch day, they'd end up playing it. And they'd probably have pre-ordered it as well, if I want to be really cynical. In saying that though, gamers have a greater voice than ever, with the massive rise of social media since the good old days of Modern Warfare 2. Yeah, YouTube was a thing, and Facebook and all that good stuff was still around, but it didn't have the sort of sway or pull that it has now. What I mean is, if you could drum up enough support on a social media platform now, you could have hundreds of millions of people on board with your idea. The reach is literally the entire world now, except for those couple of countries that we don't talk about. Whereas, like, 10 to 15 years ago, YouTube was a baby compared to what it is now. And the same can be said for Twitter and Facebook. The same can be said for the games industry as a whole. It's not just an enthusiast endeavour anymore like it was 20 years ago. With mobile gaming, your mum and dad are probably sitting around playing something you consider really dumb on their phone while they watch TV. So I reckon all you can do is just stay strong and don't buy into the hype. If you want to watch trailers and get all excited, go nuts, but remember that you have a voice. When developers do those live stream Q&A things before the game launches and they ask questions, don't go and ask gimmies. Ask tough questions. When they say, oh, we've built this engine from the ground up for the 15th time in a row because they're Call of Duty developers, hold them to it. Don't let them get away with another reskin on a 20-year-old engine. Your money's the same as your time. It's valuable. You shouldn't waste it on something that the developers weren't passionate about. If you want to do that, you can send me $100 and I'll send you a blank DVD in a case and we'll call it sweet, because I could use that cash more than some mega corporation like EA or Activision. And to the several game devs out there on the internet, be passionate about what you're doing. I know as a random person with no skin in the game, it's really easy for me to say, but hear me out for a second. If you can go to your boss with an idea that you and your crew are really passionate about, they might give you a bit of a chance because you're excited compared to just going through the motions. If that's the sort of situation that you find yourself at work in. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. At the end of the day, the video game crash is going to fix it all anyway. And when that happens, game developers will have to figure out what it is that they're missing all on their own. But they won't have the benefit of a massive marketing budget and massive coffers full of cash, because the industry will be in decline. It's just something for them to think about, I guess. If you managed to make it this far, and you enjoyed the video, chuck us a like and a sub, and maybe even a comment, let us know what you think. And if you didn't like the video, be sure to drop us a comment and let's talk about it, because this is a really subjective issue, and I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks about it. So until next time, take it easy, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!